Hello everyone, this is Insight and Excite, here to have a little talk on antiheroes and their role in comic-centered cinema and as a reflection of society. And I'm going to assume you do have a basic background on what an antihero is, so we can skip that part. But what I want to do is discuss a more broad assumption on how people perceive antiheroes. So let me ask a couple of questions before we get started. What is the point of an antihero? What purpose do they serve on the public consciousness? And is there a misunderstanding of what it means to be an anti-hero? So let me lay out my premises so there's no confusion. And feel free to attack my logic in the comments section. Essentially, a critical mass of audience members want to experience a postmodern narrative that doesn't assume directionality of consequences. And I hope that made sense. Yes, this can be perceived as postmodernist. Usually, we create things that are missing from our lives, except we do it subconsciously. So we end up with archetypes that fill the void. We create heroes to fight the dragon that we are too scared to slay ourselves. We continue to watch things or people because they represent what we want to do or achieve. It's cliche and it sounds dumb, but people who admire heroes want to be heroes. Or at the very least, the viewer likes to see heroes represent and defend order. But life is complicated and is prone to major cultural shifts. Say, almost every 10 years. You can correlate that with, the new young generation, the new presidential administration, or new marketing ploys trying to capture a better representation of the people they are selling stuff to. But we do catch a couple of things that represent a popular thought. I think it's safe to say popular tropes do get abused because another movie, book, manga, anime, whatever, used it successfully. And right now, a rising trope, or maybe you can call it a selling point, heroes that kill, because why not? This stems from the maturation of fans, or even viewers who just want realistic or mature themes. And I think we can be honest. Maybe a small need to see heroes bang in cinema. I mean, why else have Scarlett Johansson be Black Widow? But I think society is pushing it even further. They don't want realistic themes or attitudes, or personalities or quirks in their heroes. I think a growing want is they want villains to appear as the protagonist. And this is where we get anti-hero and villain mixed up. And of course, they're obviously definable, but I think we're entering that transition period. I will hear the argument that superheroes are boring and anti-heroes have more room for interesting stories. But what exactly are they saying? Certainly, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has shown this to be false, with their heroes being a little more one-dimensional. But the title of a villain as a protagonist has not been utilized, with maybe the exception of Thanos, since he is seen with good intentions. Before Endgame, that is, a small number of people were calling him, the protagonist, the anti-hero. Like what the universe needs. I think now, however, we can call him a villain. Hopefully we can. Unless some people are just that dumb. If I can steal a quote from Bleach, it is always a lot easier to let something fall apart than it is to try to hold it together. Try to understand that as a writer and as a hero. You're limited in possibilities while at the same time trying to maximize the amount of good one can do. The conflict between those two thoughts cause a story to be interesting. Bad writing is what ruins it. An anti-hero isn't restricted to these parameters, so his or her solution will always be easier to execute. So it's not the role of a character, but the way he or she is presented in a story that I guess the audience will accept as a good character, and a good as in like a well fleshed out character. But now we have grown tired of heroes doing their jobs. We want something different, and a small number probably want to see everything burn because maybe something new, a different truth, will be revealed after it rises from the ashes. Once the audience was given blood by the hands of their heroes, or maybe because optimism is relied on way too much, something new is required to fill the void. Which makes me have to ask, are we transitioning from anti-heroes to villains? Just to be clear, I'm only speaking about films that are obviously not fringe films. These films are trying to capture a large audience. And anti-heroes are not new. Think back about westerns and the existential period that genre brought us. So now, in today's time, we are given new titles with a false promise. The rise of the anti-hero is what is being sold to us. Remember that the Venom marketing, you could clearly see it in the trailers, right? That was what they were trying to push. And you can say it started with Logan, and then it transferred to Deadpool, then Venom, and now the latest one, the Joker. But again, I'm still saying it's still a false promise. First, we are given bloody action scenes, and then we're giving a false bad guy, good guy. So yeah, his means of doing good is different, but he's still essentially a good guy, which is Venom. And now we might be given a bad guy who is a bad guy, but again, that's just speculation. Is the Joker a taxi cab ripoff, where liberation is found from a false sense of identity? We'll have to wait and see. Something I don't want to see is the Joker representing a group of people who will rise up. This is actually something I suspect will be more likely to occur, a protest figurehead that the Joker will fill in. Though I think it will be interesting, that idea is interesting in of itself. People will interpret it the wrong way because, of course, they will. And this is where I'm getting at. Do people want to see a villain rise, accomplish some deed, and fail? Or do they want a villain to rise and succeed? Leave a comment on your thoughts on this. There is no reason not to show that story, unless you think movies should be didactic. But let me know how it will make you feel in the comments if a bad guy wins. If you allow this train of thought, does the audience want to feel cucked? Or do they want to do the cucking through an avatar? If you made it this far, thank you for listening to me ramble. Please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. And make sure you leave a comment if you are more a villain than an anti-hero moviegoer. All right, later, guys.